It was the early hours of November the 28th, 2008. Outside a Walmart in Valley Stream, New York, an impatient crowd pressed against a thin plastic barrier. They weren't waiting for royalty or a rock band. They were waiting for discounts. Inside stood Jedimitay Damour, a 6'5" clerk on the night shift, drafted in to play human barricade. Moments before dawn, the crowd surged, the barrier buckled, and Jedimitay was knocked to the ground, trampled beneath the feet of strangers chasing bargains. By sunrise, he was dead. Across the country, at a Toys R Us in California, another altercation turned fatal. Gunfire over gifts. And 2 years later in Buffalo, a crowd shattered the glass doors of a shop in their haste, injuring several. Over the following decade, more than 40 incidents would stain this so-called holiday of cheer. 11 dead, over 100 injured. So how did a day of discounts become a day of disorder? How did Black Friday descend into chaos? To fully understand this, we have to go back to the turn of the 19th century. Thanksgiving became an American institution in 1863, declared by President Lincoln as a moment for gratitude and family. But by the roaring 1920s, retailers had found a different sort of grace: commerce. The day after Thanksgiving quietly became the unofficial opening ceremony of Christmas shopping. Then came 1939, a peculiar year in the calendar. November began on a Wednesday, giving the month 5 Thursdays instead of 4. Left untouched, Thanksgiving would have fallen on November 30th, leaving retailers a miserly 24 shopping days before Christmas. So the great merchants appealed to President Franklin D. Roosevelt. He obliged, moving the holiday a week earlier, hoping to lengthen the shopping season and stimulate a weary Depression-era economy. The country revolted. Half the states complied, half refused. Newspapers dubbed it Franksgiving. Families found themselves celebrating on different days, depending on which side of a state line they lived. 2 years later, Congress intervened and settled the matter. Thanksgiving would fall on the 4th Thursday of November, once and for all. And with that single act of scheduling, Roosevelt unwittingly set the stage for the consumer calendar we know today. Fast forward to the 1950s. In Philadelphia, local police officers coined a new term: Black Friday, not for profit, but for pandemonium. The day after Thanksgiving brought traffic gridlock, pickpockets, and a general bedlam as shoppers and American football fans poured into the city. Retailers detested the phrase. They tried to baptise it anew, calling it Big Friday. But they failed when the phrase didn't catch on. By the 1980s, however, clever marketers repurposed the term. They spun a story that, on this day, the shop's record books moved from the red margin to the black margin, signifying going from loss to profit. It was retail alchemy, chaos reborn as capitalism's triumph. The earliest trace of this revisionist tale comes from the Philadelphia Inquirer, November 28th, 1981. And with that, the myth was set in ink, quite literally black ink. Once Black Friday was branded as the day of profit, retailers began to chase it with zeal. Thus emerged the discounts called doorbusters, deals so extreme they were designed to burst the doors open. A TV that was once worth $900 could be yours for $199, but only if you were among the first 10 through the door. Competition wasn't a byproduct, it was the business model. Soon the race began. One store opened at 5 in the morning, another at 3, then midnight, until eventually even Thanksgiving evening itself was devoured. The rise of telemarketers and, later, the internet blogs poured fuel on the frenzy. Shoppers no longer came merely to browse. They came to conquer. And when everyone is determined to be first, civility collapses faster than a discount shelf. What began as harmless queuing turned into all-out warfare. Camping outside slowly became crashing inside. Storefronts cracked under pressure. Aisles became battlegrounds of bodies and bargains. From 2008 to 2019, more than 40 reported incidents, countless injuries, and the occasional fatality, all in pursuit of the best price. Retailers lengthened their promotions, spreading discounts over weeks to diffuse the crowds. But the contagion of competition was already airborne. Digital now, viral in every sense. The tragedy of Jedimitai Damour remains the cautionary emblem of the modern consumer age. A man crushed by greed and by the architecture of urgency purchases. From Roosevelt's meddling with the calendar to Philadelphia's gridlocked streets to the stampedes of today, Black Friday has always been less about saving money and more about feeding the spectacle of performance. It's a theatre of consumption where we are both the actor and the audience. We rush in thinking we've beaten the game, that for one glorious moment we've turned capitalism on its head. But the irony is exquisite. The system doesn't fight us. It invites us. It sells us rebellion neatly packaged in a cardboard box, delivered next day with free shipping. We call it a victory, yet the moment the thrill fades, the cycle resets. A year passes, another sale appears, and once again we queue at the door of the very machine we swore to outsmart. Because no matter how fast we run for the deal, capitalism is already waiting at the finish line, holding the receipt.